this. You've been here before. There's been bills, and not just yours, the Sijeni proposals as well, but all that has failed up to this point. Are you confident that this will pass? Because already members, even when I was walking in, were saying it tunaangusha.
You know, in legislation, and I have been around here since the 10th Parliament, our work is to make sure that the necessary pieces of legislation are processed through the parliamentary departments. Today we have introduced the bill for second reading. I am just watching from my office here, the screen. Each and every member who is standing is in support of it. Of course, it is a constitutional amendment bill with a threshold of 233 members must be present before a vote is taken. So, as the leader of majority who is used to this business, my fingers are crossed, and I will keep on lobbying up to the last minute. But if we do not succeed, and this is not a matter of choice, an article of the Constitution, 81B, which was passed in the referendum of 2010, has not been implemented to date. And the last time, in 2012, the Supreme Court of Kenya, in advisory opinion number 2 of 2012, called upon Parliament to legislate. So we are doing the legislation.
Okay. You've talked about having fingers crossed, and let's talk about the political will for a second. Yes, we had the president, the deputy president urge members of parliament to pass this into law, but when we're talking about the finance bill and the taxes to be introduced, the kind of whipping that even members were called to State House, there was confidence that there's no way the president could be embarrassed. But when it comes to this gender rule and bill, we never see that kind of whipping and getting everyone on the same page.
No, I think the whipping will come when, through the House Business Committee, I slot a day when the voting will take place. Once that date is known, I am sure, and I've discussed yesterday with our party leader, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, we will call a parliamentary group meeting. I'm also in consultation with the leadership from the minority, and they have confirmed to me that when the day for voting is known, then they will whip their members through a parliamentary group meeting.
So you're saying 100%, as we saw with the tax laws, this one is going to go through because government will ensure it does?
No, I mean, you know, even the tax laws, the members could not raise the 233 members. This is a bill that has been tried, even in the 10th Parliament, when Honorable Mother Karua was the Minister for Justice, when Honorable Mutula Kilonzo was the Minister for Justice. It was tried through my Duale 1 and 2, the bill by Honorable Chepkonga, Honorable Sijendi. So still, there are a number of members of Parliament who needs to be convinced and lobbied, but I can tell you from where I sit, I will keep on trying this bill until the last day of this 12th Parliament.
All right. Let's talk about what it says about implementation, that if in fact it passed, it would come into force in the year 2022. Yes. So why is that? Because initially it was to be law or implemented by 2015. There was an extension to 2016. Then there's been delays. This is a matter that has gone up to the Supreme Court. But why not, if it passed whatever date it's going to be, it comes into effect immediately? Why do we need to wait for 2022?
The way legislation works, this bill is anchored on a general election where members are elected, because it says 2/3 of any gender on elective positions. So what we're saying is, upon the declaration of results in 2022 general elections, and the moment we know the numbers of either gender in the House, then it is easy to calculate how many numbers do we need to fulfill the constitutional obligation of having a 2/3 gender principle anchored in law. Yeah. So this is a proposal in my legislation. Other people might have other proposal. Yes. And again, we're saying this affirmative action we are putting in place in this law will only work for 20 years. And Parliament has the powers to extend only for 10 years.
So it is your proposal that it comes into effect in 2022, but it does not stop it from coming into effect now, because the number of legislators we have in office now are from a general election. And we know the differences in being able to meet the not more than 2/3 gender rule. So it is possible today, if the law was passed, if it were to be amended to allow for that, it can come into effect today.
Yes and no. Yes, because we were to pass this law long time ago. Yes. No, because we are now, as the 12th new parliament, we cannot be held to an account for the omission or commission of the 10th and 11th parliament. This is a new parliament. Yes. So this new parliament will be treated in how it handles this matter. And we are saying in this bill, let us give a chance, even the political parties, that in their nomination process, in the next general election, they must have, in their own way, affirmative action for women to vie in single member constituencies. Right. So we expect, like in the 11th parliament, we had 21 members elected in single constituencies, women MPs. In this one, we have 25. You see, the numbers are increasing. If you go to the 10th parliament, there were 18. In the 9th parliament, there were, I think, less than 10. So the growth of women empowerment is also felt within the Kenyan society. Look at this. Look at Honorable Sophia Abdi, comes from a very conservative pastoralist community. Look at Honorable Sarah Korere, Honorable Lesuda. Look at Honorable Fatuma Dulo, to be the senator for Isiolo. Honorable Margaret Kamar. So we expect progressively more women to be elected, so that the number that we are going to top up as special seats in the next general election will even be maybe less than 10. Okay. So it won't have a big impact in terms of those people who say that there is overrepresentation in Kenya. Right. And I think it's the people of Kenya, in their own wisdom, through a referendum, who felt that this is how their parliament should look at. And of course, again, democracy and governance is expensive. Look at how much we calculated this morning. The budget office did an analysis that if we nominate 22 women in the National Assembly next parliament and 2 in the Senate, we will spend about 285 million annually. Yeah. But I have the audited reports of 2014, 2015, tabled by the Public Accounts Committee, where billions of shillings have been lost through corruption. So I think there's a price to pay for good governance and for democracy.
Yes. So let's talk about that number 22, because I've heard it a lot also mentioned today in the House as members were contributing. To understand the formula, because that is, if it was to happen today, they'd only need 22 more members. Yes. So my looking at the numbers, and perhaps you can see my calculations, 349 members, right? So a third of that is 117. Yes. Right now we have 23 elected members, 6 are nominated, that's 29, yes, plus the 47 women representatives, that's 76. So this falls short of the 117 that is a third of the 349. So that, according to my calculations, you'd need 41 nominated members to meet this law. So how does it you got 22 and not 41?
I think we have used the 290 elective seats, because you know the 47, when you use 349, you are adding the 47 women, county women. That is already an affirmative action. The 12 members are also, the 6 women who came, they also come through nomination affirmative action. They represent different, they represent the women caucus in the country. So if we pegged our calculation on the 290. And that's why we're saying, based on that calculation, we have short of 22 in the National Assembly, and we have a short of 2. So we expect, in fact, in the Senate, the formula and the law we are passing might be used by men. We might have shortage of men in the Senate in 2022.
Yeah.
So, and then maybe we expect more women to be elected in the constituency, single constituency. So there are those of us who believe that the number will even reduce to 15. And I think 15, having 15 women as special seats from political parties based on a proportional representation will be an easy thing to go.
Yeah.
All right, so far you're up to date with what is making the headlines here on KTN.